We're good? Are we live now? Fantastic. Hola. Hello, everybody. We're about to start. Thank you so much for showing up. And I want to thank you so much. You're already changing one stereotype. You're changing one stereotype that we have to defy. From now on, when you hear the phrase Latino time, it means on time. So thank you for being here on time. We're striving to begin right now. We'll tell you in a little bit how you can watch the live stream as well. It's on the Nuestra Palabra Facebook page, and we want to invite folks to share that as well. Tonight, we're also having a book release party. This charla is important because we want you to know that we're not playing. You're not playing. We are making history. Our people need to understand how they make history, and they need to see all the layers involved saving it. Because there are forces at work that are undoing it. They're striving to erase it, and not just erase it, make it impossible for it to come back. However, we want to make it clear that we're not going away. And we're working even harder to tell these stories. And we have the benefit of knowing how important it is for many different reasons. One, if books weren't that important, would so many folks be trying to ban them and take them away from our community? Obviously. Additionally, it is really wonderful to convene in the IDA building. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful facility. A round of applause for the Houston Public Library. And the archives as well. Round of applause for the archives, which is our history. And that's really what we're talking about today. How to preserve the history that you're living and make it crystal clear to all of us that we're having an impact now. On behalf of Nuestra Palabra, I'm Professor Tony Diaz, a Librotraficante, director and founder of Nuestra Palabra, Latinos Having Their Say. We turned 27 years old this last April, if you can believe it or not. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you can't believe it, you can simply go to the fine archives of this fine institution and look up our past works. I am so proud that Nuestra Palabra's history is being preserved in this building. And before we leave, more of our historical artifacts will find a home, and we're going to make sure that this is an ongoing process where our community knows where to look itself up, but also where to draw a line in the stand. For that note, too, I want to welcome one of our special guests. She's actually one of the pivotal archivists right here, right now, fundamental in getting us here. So please welcome Salima Bawania. I practiced your name so many times. Bawania. Did I say it perfectly? Bawania. Por favor, rounds of applause. And if you see me on my computer, I'm not distracted. I'm paying even more attention because I'm trying to make sure that the live stream is going well. So thank you so much for welcoming us. Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Oh, I got to get used to this mic. Sorry. My name is Salima Bawania. I'm the Hispanic Collections Lead Archivist here at the Houston History Research Center. We're part of the Houston Public Library and also part of the City of Houston. And I'll let Raquel introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Raquel Nataliquio, and I am a photojournalist for the Houston Chronicle and founder of the Open Door Gallery.
Raquel's about to have an upcoming exhibit, which is kind of what this program today is here in support of. Her upcoming exhibit is for her show Al Otro Lado, The Other Side, which will be June 14th, and it'll go all the way until February of next year. And that'll be here in the map room down the hallway. So please come to the opening reception. That'll be, I think it's 12 to 2 that day on the 14th. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of what we do here at the Houston History Research Center. We're dedicated to documenting, preserving, and just sharing the diverse experiences of all of the Latino communities here in Houston. And I like to place the emphasis on communities because especially here in Houston, it's not just one Latino community, but multiple communities. And our mission is to make sure that we not only preserve the past, but also make it accessible to everyone. Because at the end of the day, this is our history that we're preserving. And so we really have been trying to encourage people and invite people to participate in the preservation of our history. Because obviously me as one person, I can't know all of the histories that happen in Houston. So I really would love for people to, if there's something you want there to be more of in the archive, or if you want to contribute your family's history or anything that you might know of, just reach out. We have cards and stuff in the back. You guys can email me. Feel free. Promise I'm very nice. And I guess I'll let Raquel talk a little bit about her exhibit. It's kind of interesting because sometimes people think that archives are just for researchers or for writing papers, but they can be used in a lot of different ways for educators, but also for artists. And so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your work and kind of how you use some of our archival materials to sort of, I guess, add them to your own work.
Thank you, Salima. So one of the unique pieces of this exhibition is that the photographs are going to be paired with maps dating back to the 1800s that show the fluctuating, changing landscape of the border, right? It hasn't always been where we know it today. And part of that is also to reflect just the changing landscape of immigration and just the different encounters that people are having when they are wanting to come to this side, which is kind of the name of the show, Al Otro Lado, which is something that I heard often whenever I was interviewing people. I think that my work exemplifies archives in the sense that it was all done without it being for a publication. It was really when I started being a journalist, I was very passionate about telling the stories that I was finding, specifically in Tijuana in an encampment, because it was not very heavily rooted in a big bang, a big boom, a big traumatic event, it really wasn't getting the news and the coverage that I felt it really deserved. And so I spent a few years actually starting from Tijuana and then driving along the border all the way to McAllen and back and stopping at the different ports of entry to really just see what was going on outside of just those big bang moments that we typically see in the news. And oftentimes what I found was a lot of community-driven stories, a lot of people coming together, a lot of different nationalities that would usually be somewhat racist to each other coming together and actually working together purely out of the means of survival and also finding that commonality amongst themselves within community. Specifically in the encampment in Tijuana, which is what you'll see a lot of in this exhibition, there was people in this encampment that were from Russia, that were from China, that were from Haiti, that were from Venezuela, Ecuador, Guatemala, everything. And, they ended up forming an encampment that had, the teachers that immigrated. They set up a school for the children, the medics or the people who worked in some kind of medical field. They set up a little first aid tent. There was a kitchen in which, people from Haiti would teach people from Venezuela what their dishes that they could cook, obviously, with what they had there. And so there was a lot of exchange and a lot of community exchange. And that's just not something that we typically see when we talk and discuss about immigration. And so when we're thinking about archives and artifacts, it's also important to preserve the parts of our history that are not rooted in trauma and that are not rooted in necessarily those big kind of moments of perhaps watching somebody drown or watching somebody be detained or something like that. I think it's important to remember people who are going through a migrating experience also from the lens of how community was built and formed and preserved, even through something that would really strip that away from you and try to strip your humanity away from you. So that's the importance of the archives, to remember all of the fragments, all of the different sides of this story, not just the hot ones. I could talk about this all day. I went on a super tangent, sorry.
No, that was great. We're going to have a lot of other programs that are in, support of this exhibit. So be on the lookout on the calendar. We'll have, I think we had said maybe a resource fair, maybe some documentary screenings. We'll have some of our researchers present sort of things that they've worked on. So yeah, just keep in touch. And we do have the table back there with a little bit more information about what we do. We have the lovely Hispanic Collections Archivist team that's also back there. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, they're also very friendly. And yeah, just if you have any questions, let us know.
Drop the mic. That's right. Let's give another round of applause to our host and a brilliant photographer as well. And I think one key thing to keep in mind is that only art can save us. And what art does, it humanizes us. And I think that was really key. Thank you for saying that, because we are here as intellectuals. We are here as humanitarians. We're here as artists, because if you look at corporate media, the headlines make you think that immigration is about one group of individuals. And unfortunately, during the last election campaign, there was a very negative narrative about immigration. We're here to amplify that. And again, there's ways to do it abstractly. So I reserve the right to write a poem that doesn't make any sense to anybody, you know, and it's just internal thoughts and has beautiful sound. Other days like today, we get down to business. So what does that mean? Before we leave today, we're going to give artifacts of our history. And we want people to know we're not just up here. I'm not just up here for Chicanos, because I'm an immigrant by way of several generations. I'm here standing up for the immediate immigrants, which I hope Chicanas and Chicanos from all the Southwest will do. That is stand up for our immigrant brothers and sisters, Latino citizens. Why? It's all of our history, and from other groups as well. We're amplifying it. We're making it universal. And that's the exciting part of our movement and this movement, which come together through art. Additionally, tonight we're going to have your traditional book release party, because at the end of the day, Nuestra Palabra is your favorite bookstore. Because we come to you. There are no borders we won't cross. We will not be defied by the Culture Border Patrol. We're going to go where the people are. And I want to say one more thing, too, about spreading the art. So we want to partner as well. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the projects we're doing. So tonight at 7 p.m. at Houston Community College East Side Campus, it's totally free. It's in the Learning Hub, the Auditorium. We're going to have a book release party as well with visual arts, other writers, chefs talking about their experience. And also, folks will have an opportunity to win tickets to a very cool event that we're planning, which is non-traditional, right? So I'm taking a long way to explain. If we were simply elitist intellectuals, you might think books are in this lane and tacos are in that lane. It's heartbreaking to admit, but more people like tacos than books. So we teamed up with the Taqueros and Texas Monthly, and also the taco editor for Texas Monthly, Jose Relat. We've been touring his book, Tacos of America, for over a year. That's culminating in 2 Taco Fest. Texas Monthly is organizing one for Houston and one for Dallas, and we're so proud to curate the art and culture for those events. That means the musical lineup, you're going to see visual artists, and you're going to see fantastic poets and music as well. But we want to make sure that we're advertising your exhibit and others' work as well there too. So we're reporting for duty to spread the word on this. And just like if we're too intellectual, we may think, oh, we're too fancy for tacos. You know, we're too fancy for Taco Fest. Nuestra Palabra loves Taco Fest. And we can do fancy readings as well. But that's really the goal. I just really want to hit home that we are really breaking borders and barriers to keeping books from our community. But there's also some very serious work going on. So next up, I want to introduce a representative from FIEL, really powerful organization that has been fighting for civil rights for a long time. And I've known Cesar for a long time. Abraham Espinosa will be speaking today representing FIEL because they've got work all across the country. But also, I'm looking forward to, we're talking about kicking off FIEL's archives here, possibly donating a poster so that the important work that you're doing will not be forgotten once we've achieved everything we want to achieve. Please welcome FIEL.
Good afternoon. So I'm not Cesar. Cesar is my brother, but he had to go testify for Maldiv right now with the whole, I don't know if you guys know what's going on with DACA and all of that stuff, but he had to go to El Paso to testify on that. So I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about where we are. I'm not going to take too much time. Basically, FIEL is a nonprofit immigrants' rights organization. We're one of the most, I would say we're one of the biggest in the state of Texas as far as reach and as far as recognition. We started in 2007, and it's interesting because I heard Tony mention that they're turning 27, and 6 days from now, we're turning 18 years old. So we're almost around we've almost been around the same time. I've known Tony for a long time. We've gone to Austin to testify. We've gone to the TEA to talk about, the books that they're trying to ban. And it's very interesting. We started in 2007. We actually thought we were going to be a small group of, college students that we were going to hang around in my mom's living room and just basically complain about being undocumented while we ate conchitas and drank coffee, right? But in reality, the work that we've been doing has been so much that since then, like I said, we've grown to be one of the most largest immigrants' rights organizations in the state of Texas. We've gotten so big that our Texas district attorney tried to shut us down last summer, which was actually it was a double whammy because it was the same week we got subpoenaed the same week we got served the subpoena the same week that our office got destroyed by the hurricane. So it was one of those things that I think we came out stronger. Obviously, they didn't have any reason besides trying to punish immigrants' rights organizations. They've done it before with other organizations. Thankfully, the lawsuit didn't go anywhere. We have a new office. It's prettier now. So I think it's looking at it positively, it worked out. We have 3 major programs. The first program is, and this our oldest program is, we do access to higher education. We help people apply for college or receive financial aid, regardless of their immigration status. That is also something that's under attack right now as we speak. They're trying to do away with in-state tuition for undocumented students. We've had to go to Austin about 5 or 6 times just this semester because they're trying to do away with in-state tuition for undocumented students. But we help everyone, whether they're undocumented or not, because a lot of people don't know, but right as of now, if you are undocumented, you can go to college and receive financial aid in the state of Texas. And actually, Texas, ironically, was the first state to pass something like this in 2001. And then after that, 23 states followed. But Texas was the first one, believe it or not. Then we also have a legal clinic in which we help people apply for immigration services at low cost. So what does that mean? We basically help people apply for citizenship, DACA renewals, petitions, all of that stuff. And we try to do it as affordable as we can. Unfortunately, no attorney will work for free in the long run. But we charge a very minimal fee. And basically, thanks to that, last time we ran the numbers, we've been able to get at least about 6,000 people their DACAs since the program was implemented back in 2012. And our last program that we do, which is the community advocacy program, is basically that program basically does all the demonstrations that you see like in the news. We have done more than 60 Know Your Rights training since the president took office this year. Basically, the Know Your Rights training is a very good, very thorough way of us preparing the community as far as what to do if they ever encounter law enforcement or if they ever encounter immigration. Usually, unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure the book that they're releasing will cover something like this topic. But usually, when a family or someone runs into immigration, it's not that immigration necessarily is at every corner asking people for their documents. It's not really how it works. What usually is a funnel. Usually people go into immigration detention because their first encounter is law enforcement. And unfortunately, even though Harris County is, would say, a little bit more friendly towards, and I say that with quotes because we've heard horror stories already, but even though we live in sort of a small bubble of protection, outside, we have a lot of community outside of Houston. And usually the first encounter is not with immigration, is with law enforcement. So a lot of people don't know that they have rights. A lot of people don't understand, and it's because of what Tony was talking about also, the corporate media starts sounding the lie, because it's a blatant lie, that if you're undocumented, you have no rights. And that is 100%, 1000% incorrect. Everyone living in the United States is protected by the Constitution. Whether they like it or not, everyone has protections under the Constitution, and they have a right to due process. So what does that mean? Basically what happens, they get detained by police. They have no idea how to handle that situation. They start telling them things, that they shouldn't, or they start going into detail, and then they get detained. The cop does whatever reason to detain them, and then they get detained. They get sent, they get processed at whatever police station or wherever they go, and then they see that they're undocumented, and then they put an ICE hold on them. That's usually about 80% of the time of the way these things go. So what we do with our Know Your Rights training is basically try to explain to the community what their rights are, but also what their responsibilities are with dealing with law enforcement. In the state of Texas, by law, you have to give them 3 things to identify you, so that they can identify you, and they don't arrest you for failure to ID, which is a dumb reason to arrest you, but they can arrest you for that. So basically your full legal name, not the name that you use, your alias, but your full legal name, your date of birth, and your address. Those are usually the 3 things that every law enforcement agency is going to ask you. Outside of that, you have the right to remain silent. So those are the kind of things that we teach. And for that Know Your Rights training, if any of you guys are interested, we like going to the community. There's a lot of fear right now in our community, so a lot of them are not willing to maybe show up to a place like this because they'd be scared. But what we like is we even are able to go to them and give this Know Your Rights training. We've done them at places of worship. We've done them at schools. In some schools, they invite us to their PTOs for the parents. We've even done it at someone's home, that they've gathered a couple of people, and we've done this training. So please, we are here to help the community. We are here to inform our community. And I think the biggest thing that we can do is to protect them, is to basically having them know what their rights are, because a lot of fear is not an illogical fear. The fear that they experience is sometimes the ignorance is because of ignorance. And ignorance is not a bad word. What ignorance means is just you don't know, right? So a lot of the community, because of the corporate media, because of everything, they start believing all the poison that, I don't have rights, I don't belong here. And that's what they want, right? They want people to get frustrated and then to leave. I mean, I've heard that they're like offering money to self-deport, which is ridiculous, right? But obviously that's basically who we are. We've been around since 2007. I am going to see, I kind of have an idea which poster I want to donate, but we are going to go ahead and donate because we are part of Houston's history, whether they like it or not. They are trying to erase us from the history, and it's coming straight from the top, that they're trying to erase us, our contributions, erase what we've contributed. But obviously at FIEL, we're not going to let that happen. We are your resource. Please, if you guys have any questions or concerns, towards the end, I'm able to answer any questions that you may have. And again, thank you, Tony, and thank you, the Houston Public Library, for partnering with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, especially for that update. So I want to stress what a magical time we live in. Yes, there's reasons to be discouraged. I'm going to get into that in 1 second. But there's so many reasons to be excited, to feel powerful, because we just got an update on the status of some of these laws that are going on right now. Additionally, we have to remember how powerful we are. In the room, we've got nationally published authors, professors, PhDs, national activists, renowned photographers, renowned archivists, renowned professionals, renowned intellectuals. We are powerful. And I think sometimes in this climate, we forget that power. I want to share it. I do want you to know. So right now, the live stream, if you go to the website of Nuestra Palabra, nuestrapalabra.org, and you click on the universal icon for videos, click on that, you'll get to see this as well. And please do share it. And it is a little different show than tonight. Today, this is a charla about saving immigrant stories through this path. Tonight, we're going to talk directly about embracing the literal word and visual arts. And tonight as well, I'll give you something. I'll give you a little bit of fun. Then I'm going to come with the fire and brimstone, and then you're going to hear an invited featured speaker with the book Detained. But first, the fun part. So tonight, when folks attend, it'll be 7 p.m. at Houston Community College East Side, which is on 6815 Rustic. Folks who buy a book tonight will get a free ticket, and we're going to raffle off 2 general admission tickets to the Texas Monthly Taco Fest. That's like $100 value. So every book you buy, you get a chance to do that as well. Additionally, we're going to have visual arts exhibits, other speakers too. And why do we do it? We do that because we are trying to overcome every single barrier. Here comes the fire and the brimstone. And I'm going to say this as an individual, as Tony Diaz, a Librotraficante. And I have to do that. Why? People are nervous. People are scared. You're very brave for all the work that you do, day in, day out. We are all activists by pursuing deep intellectual thought. Guess what? Instagram says, Ivan, we failed you. Every time we post our Detained flyer, Instagram says we're political or too social. I'm not sure which word it is. Is it detained? Is it the book? Is it immigration? I don't know. Having said that, this is on top of all the laws in Texas affecting immigration, education, and books. We can't even keep track of them anymore. Pick a field, any of those fields. Let's pick the arts. Some of our friends from Buffalo Soldier Museum have joined us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to hang out together. As arts organizations, arts funding is in a tailspin across the board. However, we're used to not having money. Right? We're used to, for 18 years, 27 years, using community cultural capital to get ahead. And right now, if we follow all the policies, you'll get depressed, and you can't get books in the schools. Besides the laws banning them, banning curriculums, defunding libraries, getting more books banned, they're intimidating librarians if they're there, or teachers, and they're scared to get the books in the classrooms. That's where we become Librotraficantes. And you might leave a Librotraficante tonight. Okay? How? So we're working with different high schools where if we can't get into the school, we'll start an underground, overground library across the street from the school. Our job is to get those books right there. Millby High School, we're working communities and education right across the street. Aldine High School, we're working with library right across the street. We're trying to get books for Art in the Heart as well. We are powerful together. And I want to give you the good news. We are getting those books out there. We just got back from San Antonio. We just got back also from Austin. Huge events, great events. We're pushing a lot of books. And as I introduce our next guest, we are not just doing this for passion. He's changing the world. And I want to let you know that St. Mary's is buying 200 copies of his book off of us because they're going to be teaching it next semester, which is huge. Thank you. And we want to keep pushing that as well. Our next speaker is very very talented. And I'm so glad he's dedicated his talent and genius to literature, because he's in the book Detained. He inspired Esperanza to follow his voice. And how beautiful, in an era when we don't have enough representation, I'm so happy I could teach your book in my class. And again, people have stereotypes about Houston urban youth. Shatter them. I had several students come up to me and say, some call me Mister, some call me Mister. Mister, I never read any books for classes. I picked up this book and I read it in one night. And then for them to meet the author as well. That is the highest academic program anyone can participate in. And because of the next speaker, it's happening in our streets, throughout Texas, and I hope throughout the country. Please welcome the co-author of Detained, Gerardo Iván Morales.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Tony, to Nuestra Palabra, to the Houston Public Library, to the Hispanic Collections, to the archives. I mean, coming together for community and the art is truly something powerful. And when we are together, we can change the world. And so I think that we are at a time where the more that we get involved and the more that we look to put representation on the map and give our stories that representation that people don't know. There's a lot of generalizations about immigrants. There's a lot of narratives that aren't true to who we are as a community. And I think that what makes this so beautiful, and what we were talking about earlier about the archives, is about community, coming together as this Hispanic community. And that's what being in this country has been all about. We come here in something that, while I was inside this child detention center, I spent 6 months there. And one of the biggest things that I had the privilege of getting to do was meeting these children from Central America that were coming to the United States. They're a specific category, so they're unaccompanied minors seeking asylum. They're coming to the United States and they're being detained for 5-6 months of uncertainty, of inhumanity. And so when it comes down to these stories, representation is such an important thing when we have over 100,000 unaccompanied minors coming to the United States every year, and no one knows their stories until now. And so for the first time, we have this memoir written by a child while he was detained. So I had the privilege and honor while I went to this detention center in Tornillo. I mean, here it's part of our Texas history. It'll go down if you Google Texas tent cities, you'll see these jarring images across the websites of these tents in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the summer, that house children. And so when we look at this reality, we need to do something together so that we can protect these children while they're in the care and custody of the United States and uphold their human dignity. And so when I first went there, I am an immigrant, I'm a DACA recipient, and so thank you so much for FIEL coming out here and Cesar going to El Paso and, you know, representing. I think that's such a powerful thing. And as a DACA recipient, I'm extremely passionate about immigration and human rights. And so when I went down to Tornillo, I spent my very first day, I was assigned to Alpha 13, a tent that housed 20 children. And my first day was actually Friday the 13th. So Friday the 13th, a day that people would associate to be an unlucky day, was the day that changed my life forever and became my luckiest day. I met 20 children from different parts of Central America, and one of them was Esperanza. And Esperanza was extremely talented and gifted. He had a passion for poetry and writing. And one day I walked by and he was writing on his black and white composition notebook, and I asked him what he was up to. And his face lit up and he showed me, he's like, do you want to hear my rap? And it was a rap / poem because it's written in Spanish, so it rhymes. And so I was like, yeah, of course, I'd be honored to. And when I read it, I was in tears. Like, this is the most powerful poem written by a child that really captures the immigrant experience. And it was such a powerful moment for me. And I told him, I mean, he saw my reaction, I think, and I told him, I'm like, you have such a talent, and this is something that, you know, anyone and everyone that would read this can relate to it, can feel the emotion. And I told him, I'm like, continue writing about your story, about your life, about your journey to the United States, about your time right now being detained. And one day we will be able to like change the world, because people deserve to know these stories. And so he did. He surprised me. He continued writing. Here's his composition notebook. And to tie it in with everything we've been talking about today, one thing that's featured in Detained is this image, this drawing. This is art right here. This is a drawing of his entire journey to the United States. And so he drew it down here. You have Honduras, mi hogar, and his journey going through. You have El Río Bravo. You have sentimientos, feelings, sufrimiento, suffering, no familia, no family, desesperación, desperation, no amor, no love, dolor, pain, anguish, angustia. And so in such a time when there was horrific trauma being added to these children while they were being detained, because the thing is, while they're being detained, they're referred to as bed numbers. They lose their humanity. They're wearing name tags with their names, with their pictures, and unfortunately, they're left in the care of unqualified personnel, and they don't take the time to learn their name, and they use threats as silencio, reporte, cama 12, come here. And so it's a very situation where they don't understand what a reporte means. To them, a reporte might mean being deported. And so another thing that we were talking about today is knowledge. With when FIEL came up here, knowledge is power. And I think when you don't have knowledge, there's fear. And when I got there, these children were afraid. And I would give them the tools, and I would give them that knowledge to give them that power so that they weren't afraid. So this whole thing of being threatened by reportes, right? Report means being potentially deported. I'd be like, no, there's no such thing as that. The same form that this reporte is being called is the same form that I would fill out if one of the children were feeling sick or weren't, you know, eating. And so that's the same form. It's just a documentation purposes. It's not going to affect your immigration. You're not going to be deported. And then when they heard that, they'd be like, oh, wow. So this is not this fear to have. And so when we have knowledge and we do have that power, we're able to overcome anything. And so coming together as a rich, diverse Hispanic community was something that I very much talked about with Esperanza when he got here, because he comes from Honduras. And so I'm like, well, now that you're here in the United States, you're not just Hondureño, you're part of this beautiful and rich, diverse Hispanic community. You know, we have Mexicans, we have Hondureños, Salvadoreños, Guatemaltecos, from Nicaragua, from El Salvador, I mean, Venezuela, Puerto Rico. I mean, we have so many countries here, and we all come together. And I think that that's one of my most passionate things that I love about this country, is how rich and diverse and powerful of a community we are, because we come together and we show up for each other, and we show up for each other's stories, and we're there for each other in the good times and in the bad times. And I think that this opportunity has presented itself because of the need to have these representation for these stories. And so I'm very grateful. I want to just give a huge shout out to Nuestra Palabra for just taking care of us and just going above and beyond. I mean, so many people that know Tony and see him, and when I see him speak and when I see him talk to his students, there's so much inspiration for that passion that he has, because he has a passion for fighting for humans' rights, their human dignity, and for us to come together in community so that we can form solidarity, so that we can be in radical solidarity. And what does that mean? How do we become this community? Well, it starts with your actions and your deeds. We can't just say we're there for each other. We have to be there and show up for each other. We have to accompany each other. And so a huge shout out and thank you also to Simon & Schuster. We were able to have the representation, have this story published, because our editor, she's a Chicana. She also saw herself in the story, and her parents and their journey, and her grandparents. And so this is such a powerful story. it's De Esperanza's entire story. So I want to make that very clear. I just have a note at the end, and I'm a character in the story because he talks about meeting me. But it's an honor. It was an honor to meet De Esperanza. He is very much like, his life completely changed. He's now 21. He has a child. He's a father now, and he's living in the United States. And he is very, very much grateful and feeling the love from the community and the response from Detained. And so reading Detained is giving that representation and giving that voice to the thousands of children that are detained and unfortunately are silenced. And so hopefully, as you guys have the opportunity maybe to come out tonight to the event or to read Detained, you will get to see De Esperanza's talent and resilience, even through adversity. So even through this trauma, back to what I was saying with art, is that art played such a big part in this detention, in this child detention center. These children used the art as a media to process trauma. So even through all of the horrific things that they had seen on their journeys to the United States and everything that they were feeling while being detained, they used things like composition notebooks to write, to draw. They used different mediums like yarn to make bracelets, to make different hats. And El Paso had an exhibit to showcase a lot of the art back in 2018, and they took a lot of the art that was left behind by the children. But it's such a powerful moment because art is like a living testament to the human experience. And so we are here to honor art. We're grateful for the Houston Public Library and for the Hispanic Collection and everything that they do, for the archives. I'm so excited to come and check this archive out because the communities and the encampment that is formed deserves that representation. They deserve their stories to be heard. And so thank you so much to everyone that came out today to be here. I just would like to end on just one last thing, is saying that juntos somos más fuertes. Together we are stronger. And so I have hope and I'm excited for the future. And De Esperanza, I'm gonna call him as soon as we're done with this event and let him know. He will be doing the audiobook for the Spanish version. So a Spanish version is coming out. So right now the English version came out May 13th, but the Spanish version will be coming out May 19th. And De Esperanza will be narrating the audiobook. So you get to hear him and his stories. And right now he's been doing a lot of the radio interviews. So we were just on some radio stations for Texas Public Radio in San Antonio. And we get to hear him through that. So due to the political climate going on right now, De Esperanza has to remain anonymous. Unfortunately, that wasn't always the game plan. This book took some years in the making, but due to the things going on right now, we do have to keep him anonymous for now. But this is a moment in history that is going to go down where we had children in detention centers. And so it's important to have that story heard. Thank you.
And also, in 1 second, we're going to do a special gift for the archives. But I just want to reiterate some of the things you've brought up. And I think there was a generation of our folks that maybe, like my father couldn't go to the PTA. He didn't speak English well. He was working really hard. They were not involved. There were maybe a generation where, like where my father, they could do that and they would trust me and trust the school system, and they're like, go learn. And for many of us, there's generations of us then, we went, we learned. And what happens? We wind up succeeding, growing, and continuing. This has been the case for several decades. This is at risk now. I'm telling you this because I can personally tell you, I can name 3 people in my life in grammar school, middle school, high school. Actually, let me make it 4 at the university. What did they do? They treated me like an intellectual. This is on the south side of Chicago. There were a lot of people calling me an intellectual there, right? They took the time to say, hey, Antonio, this is what our teacher, my teacher sounded like hey, Antonio, come here. I'm like, yeah. I thought I was going to get hit or something like that. That was, you know, and they would say, hey, you're using your head. You're a thinker, and they would hand me a book. I'll just tell you about one of them. It was Brother Thomas in high school. I was doing research on Napoleon, and I got into it, right? And he called me over. I would miss lunch to look up books for this research paper, right? And then he called me over, and he goes, hey, Antonio, I noticed you've really been working hard. And he gives me a book about Napoleon. He says, here's a book for your family library. I didn't have the heart to tell him, we ain't got no family library. I know I'm supposed to have one. I said, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if he was not in the picture, I'd like to think I'm tough enough to become an intellectual on my own. If 2 of them are gone, if 3 of them are gone, if 4 of them are gone, and at this point right now, you've already heard how the middle school teachers are getting bullied out of jobs, how they're defunding entire libraries. You may have heard how the high schools, there's high schools here, there's 17 school districts that overlap Houston. Several of them don't have working libraries or librarians. That's over with. I don't know if you heard, federal funding to universities is gutting the administration at one after the other. So right now, those 4 people might not be working. I don't think I would have become an intellectual. So in the past, when family members trusted the school system to deliver this, that the school system delivered, that is now falling apart. We have to pick up the slack. What does that mean? That means we're powerful. When I team up with y'all, I get powerful. I feel powerful. I know we're on the right side of history. And I know that vamos a salir adelante. I was talking to, I'm going to name drop some other exhibitions. So you were also part of the the Other Side of Memory exhibit with Luis Garza, right? Luis Garza? No. Okay, so you were part of that exhibit. He was part of the exhibit. You were in Chicano, what was it titled? Chicanidad. Awesome. Thank you for organizing that exhibit. Luis Garza was part of that exhibit. His work archives the civil rights movement. And I had a chance to talk to him here at a salon with Melissa Richardson Banks. And then also, I was master of ceremonies for the exhibit. It's at the Los Angeles Public Library now. I'm telling you this because if you look at the civil rights photos, just like the work that you're doing is so important, you look at those civil rights photos, they could be repurposed for today. We need them again. And I was talking to him, desanimado. He said, no te desanimes. He's got pictures of us, Oscar Seda Acosta, the brown buffalo. He said, that was the one Chicano lawyer we knew then. And Luis is right. I was at a function from the Mexican-American Bar Association. We just helped create a video for the Hispanic Bar Association. Hispanic Bar Association in Houston has 500 members. Perhaps that's what the enemies of intellectual freedom want to prevent. Together, we can stop that. How? We're going to have to pick up the slack. So I'm asking y'all to continue the good work. I'm asking y'all to stock your family libraries. Start underground libraries. And now we've got underground libraries where we're not going to tell you where they are. We have overground underground libraries. We're like, we want you to know where they are so you can use them. And we're also supporting public libraries. That's what's at stake. But we did it before with fewer numbers. It was more of an uphill battle, and we got to where we are now. So I'm the fire and brimstone because I'm surrounded by some cool fly thinkers that fire you up. So I'm going to call them back up. I think Yvonne is going to give a copy of Detained to the archive. So why don't you come up here so we can present that on camera. You can see history in the making.
So I have a copy of Detained here for the Houston Public Library and for the archives, but we will be shipping more. So we wanted to give you guys one here in person today, but we will be shipping more so we can have here for the Houston Public Library and for the community. Thank you, guys.
Stay here. And then if you can come up too, we've got time for 2 questions. I know some of you need extra credit for the final exam, so I want to make sure you get a chance to do that. If you got some questions, I will ask you though. Round of applause for our producer, Rodrigo Bravo, big part of Nuestra Palabra. And he's felt every single mile of every mile we've traveled in Texas, lugging those books. Books are heavy, right? Like one, not so heavy, but hundreds get heavy. Additionally, shout out to Clarissa Zubia, who's our operations manager, Lizbeth Atencio, who is she's our brand specialist. But if you got any questions, we have time for 2 questions. Yes, in the back. You can give them the microphone, Rodrigo. Yeah. No, I need to get you on the microphone for the broadcast, please.
Miguel Caesar.
And hold the mic a little closer.
My name is Miguel Caesar, head of Houston's History Research Center here at Houston Public Library. My question is, how old is the kid or young adult who wrote the book?
So he started his journey when he was 13. While he was coming to the United States, he turned 14. He was detained as a 14-year-old. And he wrote his entire story in a composition notebook when he was detained at 14 years old, or when he was 14 years. He is now 21. So he is now 21, he's married, and he has a son.
Okay. And also, where will the research that you're doing for the book and he's done, do y'all have a home for that?
He's good. He's good.
It's just checking, yeah.
Not yet. So,
Right.
I mean, right now we're bringing the composition notebook on this detained release tour so that we have De Esperanza's physical artifact, art with us present, and that people can see his penmanship, can see his writing, his journal entries in its authentic language. And so right now we're taking it with us. And I mean, it would be an honor to one day have an exhibit or have it somewhere where people can go and look at it. And so
Yeah, I mean, definitely preserving it, scanning it, digitizing it. Like you said, anything can happen on the road, and those are, valuable resources that no one wants to lose. So I'm sure Salima will talk to you about that later.
definitely, thank you.
I love that, though, because our community should be involved in discussions like this. I also want to tell you, I used the book in my class. I had several of my students who wrote amazing essays. I gave them to, we've had 6 PhDs on the tour with us. So if anybody thinks they want to question the intellectual veracity or profundity of the book, set them straight. We'll set them straight. We've got it all on video for educational classrooms. But it was so beautiful because one of my students, Professor Romero Santos from Trinity University, she picked her essay to read. And so it's not just me being nice to my students, which you might suspect is the case. They might say I'm really mean, but you're like, well, what's the case? It was another professor reading that work. So that we'd want also to be preserved as well, so that students are thinking about that level. We have time for one more question. Yes, and we've got the microphone going right over there.
Lisa Rodriguez. I was just curious, what is the other author doing now? Is he inclined to write more books? Are you inclined to write more books? Are you considering working together on other publishings?
Wow, that is a great question. Thank you, Lisa, for coming out here and for taking your time of your day. Right now, I mean, De Esperanza is extremely talented. I was talking to him the other day, and he was writing a song. So, I mean, he's still writing. He still has a lot of talent, and there's a lot to say, and we get a different perspective. I think that in Detained, it's a child's perspective, but there is an epilogue. So we do have an epilogue where he fills you in as an adult, and you do see a difference in the reflection. And now as a father, he has so much more to say. And so we do hope that the future will offer more opportunity so that we can continue seeing De Esperanza's talent published in different mediums in different ways, and maybe one day with his real name.
That's awesome. Any final words you want to add to folks about the exhibit and maybe the work that you're working on? So you're a working world-class reporter, so appreciate you taking the time to do this, but also adding to the intellectual pool of knowledge as well.
I don't know if I have anything to add. I just want to thank you guys for having me and for wanting to, promote the show. I think it's in alignment with, we literally will have archives, like artifacts, notebooks from kids and things like that displayed at the show. So, not to steal your thunder, but, it is true that a lot of what is experienced is recorded in these composition books that kids leave behind or aren't able to take with them once they are detained. And that will be on display. So I appreciate what you do and what you've done to get this story out there. And échale ganas.
We're in your castle.
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out today. These sorts of conversations are important to have. We're also excited to document the history of organizations like FIEL as well. I think sometimes people forget that that's also a big thing in history, or even sort of, as Miguel had mentioned, the research and sort of what went into putting this book together. And it's important for us to make sure that we preserve that history from the perspective of the people that created it. So I'm very excited to kind of, add to our collections and just make sure that, we're doing the work. So thank y'all for having us.
Thank you so much. I do want to thank some of our other allies. So besides FIEL, Monday Paper, also want to thank the Librotraficantes. Also want to thank the Law Offices of Carolina Ortiz Diaz, the Brown Foundation, the BIPOC Arts Network Fund. And I want to mention just a quick few more things. So tonight, 7 p.m. at Houston Community College. That's entirely free. Tell a couple people about that. And then, of course, the Taco Fest is on June 7th at Discovery Green from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And then on June 20th, I want to mention Juneteenth at 160. It is USCT Living History Encampment and Roots Resilience, organized by our friends at the Buffalo Soldier Museum, our allies. And that's going to be Friday and Saturday, June 20 to 21, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can get more information from our dear friends and visit their website. And then also, I guess the last thing I'll say too is, Nuestra Palabra, we're trying to get in everybody's business. So even the climate. So we're having a really cool climate event with a dear friend of mine who's an author, Stephanie Elizondo Grice. She has a book called Art Above Everything. And we're going to be hanging out with her here in Houston, June 25th at Finca Tres Robles, which is an urban farm, because we are part of nature. And people in the barrio, that's East End, that's Legacy Barrio, Segundo Barrio, El Alacrán, right there is a cool urban farm. So we're going to have literature, visual arts there that day. It'll be from 7 to 8:30. Also sustainable paper, because that's what we're about as well. So thank you so much for coming out. Round of applause for our guests. And thank you.